Welcome back to another video. It's literally Friday night straight after work, so I've just finished and I've come straight outside. I'm a little bit back to front with days and things like that and when I'm starting the videos. So yes, Friday night and Saturday are going to be what you're getting in this one. Possibly Sunday, we'll see how we get on, but the plan is to spend as much of Saturday in the garden as possible. I think it's going to be nice to us weather-wise up until about lunchtime or just after lunchtime. This is absolutely glorious. It started off horrendous this morning, yet again. Don't let this deceive you. All it's done is rain. You probably heard I was shouted then. So yeah, it's been raining non-stop. It's been freezing cold on a night. This is the loveliest, nicest weather we've had for quite some time. And actually in the greenhouse, I've just opened the doors for the first time. The window's been closed. We've got the propagator that hasn't been on. In fact, I hope it's not on. No, it's not on, but it's been closed up, so it's been really warm in there, so things are growing in there. But the problem with this, I need to make sure that they don't fry. It's been up to, can you see that the wrong way around, 35.9 degrees centigrade, and it's now 29.2 in here. It will cool off now that I've opened the doors and the windows. So I'm going to spend a good hour out here tonight. I've got a lot that I need to get done in the house as well, just ready for the weekend, but the idea is that I'll be out here as much as possible for the whole of the weekend. I've got kids helping with jobs, Stephen's out here doing his thing, so it's all systems go. This is the propagator. I've literally just opened it to show you. So look at these guys here. These are the tomatillos. Are they the tomatillos? These are the ground cherries, which are coming on fantastically. That one needs watering, that one doesn't. Sometimes if you just lift them up and you can tell that is really, really heavy, that is literally paper light. So there's a huge difference, even though the plants are of a similar size. So that needs watering, that needs watering. And it's just a good way to be able to tell which ones need watering and which ones don't. These are some sweet peppers, some F1s over here, and these are just different peppers. It's frigatello, jalapeno, and I'm just going to be keeping those in there. Underneath here we've got some spring onions and lettuce just in this terracotta pot, and more spring onions there, the bunching Tokyo long spring onion in there, and I can't remember what these ones are. Hang on. Just white Lisbon, so standard white Lisbon, which are always good. In this bit here, this is where the radish were. We've eaten them all, so I'm going to get some more in there tonight and just generally see how things are doing. The tomatoes are coming on fantastically. Again, some of these will need watering. Is that a fly or a wasp? It's a fly. And some won't. So you tend to find that the ones that are in the smaller pots like these will need watering sooner than these, because I'm presuming because the bigger pots can hold more water for longer. And just looking along, the coriander's looking really well as well. Yeah, looking fantastically. There's the ducks enjoying the life out now that they're allowed out. This parsley, I need to get this split and planted up now that hopefully the worst of the weather has passed. We've got some beetroot that's coming through amazingly, and all different kinds of leeks are coming through. This was down here just because it was really struggling, so I just did a pool of water for it to sit on. That seems to have recovered just fine. Totally made a mistake with the peas, didn't get these in any time quick enough, so I'm going to see if I can separate them and get them planted up. If not, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, because it might be a bit of a nightmare. And I can sow more, which I will, but I was hoping not to waste these, so we'll see. I wanted to show you as well, I have bought a couple of shop bought sweet peppers, but more importantly some snacking cucumbers. These are the ones that I'm hoping to do pickles with. So I don't actually have any seeds for these, so I was pleased when I saw these in the nursery the other day. I went in to get a lemon tree for my dad for his birthday. They were quite disappointing actually, but anyway, I managed to pick up these. So I've got 3 of those and 3 of those peppers. And we've got a few things here that I'm looking to pot onto. And finally, while we're doing updates, I've got all kinds of different onions that I didn't have space for in, because what I've done, I've put onions in little cells like this, and they're all in the cold frame. And I had loads left, which, bear with me, don't feel seasick. They were like this, so these are all going in the compost, but I just had tons left and I didn't want to waste them all. So what I thought I would do is just pot them up as multi-sown in these individual pots and just see how it goes, basically. So that's why they're in there. And I've just got a couple of extra tomatoes, which I'm not sure why they're here, and I'm not sure what they are. So that's probably why they're here, because they haven't got labels on, probably. And I think what we'll do, now that the worst of the weather has passed, I'm going to pot these ground cherries on and then take them out of the propagator and just have them in the greenhouse. But I need to keep an eye on the weather first of all. And this is the pineapple sage underneath there, which is coming on just nicely. And this leaking tap, Jack's doing the ducks, so he's refilling the duck pond for them, but unfortunately we've got a leaky tap, so whenever you use the hose pipe, the greenhouse gets watered too. There's quite a few seeds that I want to get in, whether that's tonight or tomorrow. So melon, squash, outdoor and indoor cucumbers, not just the baby ones. If I've got some seeds, I can't remember if I've got any of the larger cucumber seeds. And I also want to do my winter squash and the summer squash and the courgettes. I think I said that at the beginning. So yeah, it's perfect timing for me here in the northeast of England to get those in. A lot of people have already got them in and they're managing the plants really well. We are potentially going to have a frost all the way up until the end of May, unfortunately. So our last predicted frost date is always the middle of May, but we have seen frost at the end of May. So I'm always really cautious up until then. Having said that, I do want to get some of the tomatoes planted outside. They are going to go into this bed here, which I've got another problem with. All of the beds, I mentioned it somewhere, I can't remember where, but the cats are using them as for doing their business in, basically. So I need to get those netted up, even if it's not to keep the butterflies and things like that off, it's going to be to keep the cats off, because nobody wants that. So I need to get all of these beds measured up and see what nets we've got, because as you can see, I've got some, I don't know if that's fleece or just net, like Enviromesh, but if it's fleece, it'll get too hot in the summer for those. So all things to think about, but it's all about getting the seeds in, and I'll show you the brassicas in the cold frames now. Grace was very kind and just brought me a hat out and a bobble, because it's really warm in there. So in these cold frames here, we've got all kinds of brassicas, and I've also got the onions. Onions are in this first one. Let me show you. So, oh, and we've got the chard in here as well. So we're seeing this together. They seem okay. All different types of onions. Now I did just prick these out and put them in individual pots, because we just haven't had the weather for putting them in any of the ground yet. Obviously these are the overwintering ones. And in this one here, okay, so these are the brassicas, looking fine, making sure there's no, oh hang on, I'm just holding it up with my head, making sure there's no slug damage, which at the moment it's looking really good. Okay, so I'm pleased with that. Oh, I'm not going to go around the rest of the plot, because I tend to end up doing that, don't I, where we'll look at a couple of things and then end up doing some sort of plot tour. I'm going to literally just get on with what I was doing in the greenhouse. Otherwise that just takes up too much time, because I get distracted with a million other things, whereas I want to concentrate on looking at the seeds. I'm not sure where to start, to be honest. Okay, this is where I'm going to start. These tomatoes will have been stunted terribly because they should have been potted on forever ago. But what I'm going to do is pick some of the best ones of them and get them potted on, because I found some of these pots in the cold frame when I did the cold frame just the other night. So I can get those potted on, and that'll free this tray up completely. And then we are starting afresh with all of these seed trays. So that's a good plan. I'll get that done first, and then that clears this space, and I can get the rest of this composted, these onions and things that we're not using, and get this table cleared up for the next job. I'm going to plant them really deep. It's going to take these a while to get going again. I'm going to take off that leaf because it's yellowing. So with tomatoes, as I've said before, you can obviously plant them, well, not obviously to everyone, but you can plant them really deep because they'll develop roots on the side of the stem. And especially because I've mistreated these guys by just leaving them in the little trays for far too long. The deeper that I'm planting them, the more chance I think that they've got anywhere. Just give that a water and let that drain through. And I'm just going to do this for all of them. Right, these are the tomatoes. I was doing really well. I had one that was on its own, that was a separate variety make. So these are all San Marzano except one, and I was determined to put it to one side, and I was doing amazing, and then I've totally forgotten which one it is. Anyway, so these are them all done. So one of them isn't San Marzano and the rest are. And you can see the difference just from having them in bigger pots earlier on to leaving them in the plug plants, how small these guys are. So I'm hoping that they'll catch up. They're all in different size pots for no other reason than that's what I had spare. So I'm hoping that they'll catch up and we'll just see how we get on. I'm going to water some of these because they're a little bit dry, and then that's a good job done. Right, the tomatoes are done. I've had a little bit of a tidy up. This table is ready now for me to sit down at and use. Well, I've got a bit of a wet spot. I'm going to sit down here and get the seeds done. So I like to have a nice clear space to get started. One of the biggest or the most time consuming tasks I find when I'm putting the seeds in is writing the labels out. And if I've got a table that I can sit at to write them out on and write properly instead of trying to balance them on my hand or something, that really helps. And what I tend to do is write them out in bulk before I get started with the sowing. So I'm probably, it's quite time consuming when you're doing a mass amount of sowing, but that's where I want to get to. Whether I might come out and get some of the labels written tonight after we've eaten, or whether I start it all in the morning and just work through, time will tell. I've got myself my blue bucket for compost, not for compost, for things that I'm coming across that I need throwing out that are for compost. So it's not for compost that I'm going to be sowing the seeds in, is what I'm saying. And there's also quite a few weeds, excuse me, quite a few weeds in the greenhouse on the floor, if you can just see here, that just need pulling out. So I'm going to get one of the kids to help me out with that. But I'm pretty pleased because I've got quite a few of, well, all of my seed trays now. That's not true, I've just got the beetroot actually that I've just shown you, but all of the CD trays, and I've also got some cheap trays from Wilco's. As every year goes on, I'll get more of the CD, the Charles Dowden trays. If you don't know what they are fantastic. I bought them when I saw him talking about them on one of his YouTube videos. No discount, nothing like that. But they're quite expensive, especially the postage on them. So it's not something that I'm just going to go and get in bulk because it'd cost me more than my groceries for the year, and it's just not worth it. So I'm going to continue doing that every year, was what I was saying. But in the meantime, I'll have to supplement where I need it with the cheaper trays that I've got the onions in. These are the kind of the ones that you can get from Wilco's. They're quite flimsy, you know, but they'll last you for a few seasons. So that's what I'm going to be sowing in tomorrow. Good. The ducks are so funny. They got everywhere in a row. We're looking through the dirty greenhouse window, as you can see at the minute. I love them. I love watching them when I'm working in here now that they're out. They always stick together as well. Anyway, I've watered the parsley, so that's the Italian giant parsley. All of this has been weeded, and these will get moved off here, the seed trays. And these peas, these are the peas that I was talking to you about. They are literally just, anyway, I don't know what I'll do. I'll let you know about those. All of this has got fresh compost in it, but it needs a good water. And what I'm going to do is sow herbs in here, and then I can have this as a herb. I might put a few flowers in, and just to make it look really nice, because it, you know, it doesn't look really nice in other places. So yeah, I might put a few herbs in there, a few nasturtiums, something like that, and that can look pretty over the summer and be practical, and we can eat from it. And the tomatoes, I've checked them all. I'm not going to give any water today, but they will need watering in the morning. Well, it's the next morning, as you can probably tell, and as you can also probably tell, I didn't get any more done in the greenhouse because we went and had a fire outside and cooked our tea over the fire and had a few drinks. So it's early the next morning. We're all busying about our business. I've got my foot caught. I've just filled up the honesty stall. I've put some rhubarb out on there, and also eggs. So we're starting to do that every day now. The rhubarb might just be a weekend thing, but we'll see. It depends how much we've got. And the plan is anything that doesn't sell on the stall. We got wiped out of chicken eggs the other day. People aren't as fussed on duck eggs, which is amazing, because maybe it's because they've never had them, so they don't know what to expect. Sorry, just taking the first look at my plants. I opened the greenhouse earlier to get some water, but I haven't looked at the plants. I haven't said good morning to them. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, maybe it's because they haven't had duck eggs before, so they don't know what to expect. But then I'd want to try them. But anyway, the duck eggs aren't selling as well as the chicken eggs, but that's fine. I'm sure once people get into it, they're a bit more expensive too, naturally. But I'm sure once people try them, they'll end up coming back for them. So the rhubarb's out there. We have got some gigantic pieces, some really slim pieces. There's a couple of plants there. They never fail me. They are absolutely amazing. And I hesitate to split them, like October, November time, which is when you're supposed to do it. I've not split them in 7 years that I've lived here. Who knows when they were split before then. I'm frightened if I split them, I'm going to break them. And people say, oh, you know, you can't, but they do so well. And I'm thinking, if it's not broken, leave well alone. The other two that you've seen next to the raspberries, Nemesis raspberries, one of them does really well, the other one doesn't. The one that's doing really well is just throwing up really spindly stalks now. I'm a firm believer that that's about the ground that they're in. even though they're only opposite each other on the veg plot, it must be something to do with the ground that they're in. So the ones that are nearest the hedge, which you can't really see from here, but over the hedge there, do fantastically compared to the ones that are near the raspberries. Anyway, what I'm going to do this morning, I've got my cup of tea because I've already had enough coffee. I don't want to be bouncing off the ceilings. I'm going to sit down and start on the seeds. And while I'm doing that, I've got a podcast of my own that I need to listen to because I need to add to that. And I just want to get my head in organised mode of what I'm going to achieve today. But the seeds need doing anyway, so that's a really good thing to get started with. So I'll show you what I do at the end, and I'll show you what I've achieved, hopefully. Just been to get my trusty chair, which I'd taken outside, and this is the compost that's open. I just threw in some of last night's what was still left in the pots that I was using. That can all just go in, it'll be totally fine. I won't use the bits when I'm putting seeds in. I won't use these bits, but if I'm just putting something on, I'll quite happily add those in the bottom. I can't remember if I was saying, finish my sentence, but whatever's not sold on the stall, basically I'll use in the house. So if the rhubarb's not sold, if the eggs go past how comfortable I am for leaving them out there, then they go in the house and I get those preserved. Right, I've been here 30 minutes or so, I don't know what time are we on. So it's 10 o'clock now, I think probably an hour actually. Let me show you what I've got done. I've got basically the winter squash. I don't have any pumpkins, it's all, well, are they called squash or pumpkins when they're not the orange traditional pumpkins, but they're winter squash varieties or winter pumpkins? You tell me guys, what are they? And I've got some courgettes in, and we've got a nice little stash growing on the floor, so I'll quickly show you those and I'll show you the varieties that I've put into. I have these trays that are nice. They're in just 3, 6 or 9s, and they're a good size for the squash or pumpkin seeds. This isn't very helpful. So what happened, I ordered some different varieties previously, and they came like this: spaghetti squash, 10 of those in there, perfect. But one came completely unnamed, and I didn't check my orders at the time, or maybe I did and I've forgotten. So I don't know what variety this is, but it is a chunky old seed, so I'm curious as to what it's going to turn out to be. It may be Crown Prince, which I've actually got 2 Crown Prince in here from a different pack, and I might have ordered them because I'd run out and I really like the Crown Prince. Anyway, so whether or not they turn out to all be the same or not, we shall see. And I've just got 2 of the, how do you pronounce it, the uchikuri? This one, Uchikiri. Anyway, 2 of those in there because they are from this packet that I've just shown you, but I do have more on my stash down here from a different packet of the same variety. So I'm just worried that that other pack is older and it might not come up. So I've put 2 in from this. So this is the only tray that I've got different varieties in, and we only have 1 unknown. Now, the other ones that I've got in, these are the Premier Seeds Direct Uchikiri that are in the different one. And then just really quickly, I'll take you through what we've got. So we've got some yellow courgettes, which I really like the yellow ones. I find the skins aren't as tough. Delicata squash. That. Marina di Cheat. Oh my goodness, I sound terrible. Waltham butternut squash. Black Beauty courgette. Blue Hubbard squash. Did I do this one already? So I did find some gherkins. These are Anulka F1. So even though I've showed you the mini ones that I've already got, I have put some of these in because I thought, well, I can just sell them on the stall if not. Spaghetti squash. So the first time I used these was last year, and they do actually cook up just like spaghetti, and it's obviously a really healthy way, if you eat a lot of potatoes like I do, of just using these instead of potatoes or instead of spaghetti or pasta. Because yeah, I could eat potatoes all day every day, and that doesn't help anybody. So that's what we've got in at the moment. The only thing that I've got left is to get these long marrows in. So the date on these are to be sown by this year basically. So I'm just going to put a couple of these in, probably just at small pots, because I don't want loads of those, but I do like to dehydrate the courgettes and the marrows. Now last year, hang on, let me turn you around. Last year I came across dehydrating courgettes in the dehydrator, obviously, and turning it into flour, and that worked fantastically. So I'm going to do the same this year. So basically people say that they can never have that they're drowning in courgettes, and now I'm going to be saying I can never have too many, because when you powder it down it just turns into nothing. And again, if you're doing kind of a keto diet or anything like that, which we're not, but we have done in bits and pieces, it's also good just as a free sorry, that's as a flower on the keto diet was what I was saying, but it is also just good as a flower replacement, not in its entirety. So I haven't done all courgette flour instead of, because that's what you call it when you powder it. I haven't done all courgette flour to replace all-purpose flour or self-raising flour, plain flour, whatever, because it wouldn't work. But you can do a kind of a 30% substitute, something like that, and I've done that and it works really well, especially when making bread. So I did that last year and the kids actually really liked it, and obviously it's a lot better for you and there's more nutrients in it. So I'm really pleased. I'm going to be doing that this year, so I'm going to do some of those marrows for that as well. And what I will do with the marrows too, depending on what we get, is stuff them. So like stuffed peppers, stuffed mushrooms, you can stuff marrows too with either just other vegetables or with rice or with mince, whatever it is. Really, really nice and tasty. So I'm just going to cover these little seeds up now that I've just shown you the last ones, and then that at the moment is the last of the squash and the pumpkins, the courgettes as well that I've already got. Can you hear the birds? Right, that's them covered up, and all I'm going to do is water everything all at the same time. So when I've got all of the other seeds in, I've brought quite a few out because I need to go through them. I will just water everything all at once. I'll probably get them on here. I'm going to tidy all of this away. That's a rubbish bag. Some peas that have gone over that we were just using for shoots and then didn't get watered, and all of the pots that I'm going to get to for potting on. So this can get cleared, and then I'll be able to put all of these, water them all on that top over there. What I'm going to do for now, oh, this is my tomato tree that died this winter, so it's definitely not been coming back, so I'm going to get rid of that. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is out here, this bed here, I'm umming and ahhing as I'm sat here about what to do with tomatoes or carrots, so you're not just sat looking at the other stuff. So in here I've got some lettuce and some radish and some spinach and some other bits and pieces around the edges, and the strawberries, which is fab. I desperately need to get carrots in now because it's I just haven't got them in because it's just been too cold basically, and I'm just wondering where to put them. I've got the other bed at the end which has got the comfrey in, which I've got the fork there to get that out actually, because I don't want that in that bed this year, which I've told you before. So tomatoes are going to go in one, and carrots and parsnips are going to go in another. I don't know which way around because the bed over there doesn't get as much light or as much daylight or sun. So I'm thinking the tomatoes might be better off in this bed in front of me, but then that's going to stay empty until May. So maybe I could just grow radish in there and some other quick growing things until then. Or maybe I could interplant the tomatoes if I put some beetroot in or something now. Harvest the See, I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are if you've got any on that. The other thing that I've got done out here, so these cold frames are staying closed today. There is a little rip in one of them. In these 3 bins here, I've got potatoes in there. So these are the ones that, some of them are home saved, and there's one from Christmas, which I forgot about, so it's not in there, but I'm going to get that put in one of the other tubs that's lying around as well. Anyway, I digress. I'm going to have a think about these carrots and tomatoes. Right, it's starting to drizzle a little bit. So what I've decided to do, took my chair in, is get my coat on because it's getting quite cold now, even though in here it's 12.5 in here, it's colder outside obviously. I'll warm up no doubt as I start getting busy. I'm going to get the brassicas in, so I've got the beds in the veg plot. So just for information, we call this bit here, we refer to that as the veg garden, which is the bit that we made when we moved here. The original plot, which we're going in now, is the veg plot that was here when we moved in. So it's just how we distinguish between them, because we'll be talking about, oh, I was in the sun, so which bed do you mean? That bed? Where are you talking about? In those conversations, it just stops us getting into those conversations and taking too long to know what we're talking about. I can't decide. Can you tell? Up and down, this fleece, when it's up, it gets in your way, but when it's chilly, it keeps you warm, but it really does get in your way, and then when it's down, it has to be like folded back. Far too much information for this video, I'm sure. Anyways, so I'm going to go and make the holes with my dibber in the beds that we're going to get the brassicas in, and I'm going to try and cover them up with the fleece or the nets that we've got just to keep the cats off. When do the butterflies come? Who knows? I need a date. I need a date that they're going to turn up. Yeah, I haven't seen a single butterfly yet, the cabbage white butterflies I'm talking about here, where the caterpillars then destroy all of my brassicas. So I think I'm okay not to have them netted from that point of view at the moment, but I'm going to have to net all of my beds because the cats are just causing me absolute mayhem, chaos at the moment. So yeah, first of all, before I get all of the brassicas out of the cold frames, I'm going to go make the holes with the dibber. Can you see the ducks in the distance? They're in their little pond. The gate's open because the latch is actually broken, but the ducks are doing really well at staying where they're supposed to at the moment. We'll see how long before they come out. Can you see that? It's 9 degrees centigrade. So I've got a lot of work to do in here. I'm not going to get distracted by it. These are the rhubarb leaves, and there's a stalk left there for me for later because I snapped it by mistake, so I'm going to have that in the house. These leaves will compost or can act as a mulch. So I think what I might do is pull out the nettles and the thistles from here, and I'll use a different mulch for in here because the raspberries still need to pull through there. But I can mulch areas that, like in front of the compost or over at the back there. Sorry, I've got my dibber in my hand. Yeah, all of this needs tidying up, all sorts to do. I'm getting distracted. So this bed here has got a few weeds in it. You can see there's some that are actually coming through the cardboard. So this is the no dig, had cardboard in it, and it has done really well despite how it looks. This would have been completely riddled with weeds. Now the grass that you can see, not the nettles, but the tufts of grass that you can see are actually growing from the manure. So I'll just rake those off, and I'll make sure that I leave enough space in between the brassicas, which there is anyway because it's brassicas. I'll make sure that there's enough space to be able to hoe between them because this will keep happening, and I need to make sure I do that at least once a week. So that's that bed, and as you can see there's more nettles and strawberries. So these are the white dead nettles in this bed. So that's another job and another job and another job. Concentrate on getting the brassicas in. I'm going to weed this one first, it won't take me long, and then I'm going to get the dibber holes in and then get this covered up with Stephen's help later. Let's just do this. I was going to talk about other stuff. Let's do this, Tracy. I did get distracted. Look, the rosemary is starting to flower. Now this flipping rosemary beetle, which is probably here somewhere hiding from me, I keep knocking it off every time I see it. Because it is making the rosemary suffer quite a bit, but the flowers are looking fantastic, very pretty. I'll give this a hoeing over, and it may look as though there's still some bits in there, but it's all been disturbed, and that's the important thing. Even if I haven't picked them all out, which I picked a few out, and there's a bit of dead rhubarb there that was no good. Anyway, so this now is ready for planting. A couple of the bigger bits there actually I'll pull out. But it's all been raked and all the roots have been disturbed, so at least nothing fresh is going to be growing in the next few days. So I'll make the holes in. I want to get rid of this IBC tank from this location. So the one that we've got over there, that's kind of the dumping yard, which I want to get to and make into a nice sitting area. But this is, one, it's an eyesore, and two, it's in my way now. So when I put the net on as well, I can never get in. We were trying to think of a way to get rainwater in here. Can't remember if we were going to use the shed roof for this one, but we now have a pump that Stephen uses for the pool that we got, and it works. We can pump water over. So this is for in the summer when it's really hot and we need to water with rainwater ideally, but we need to collect the rainwater somewhere, like off the roof of the house or off the barn, which is behind the greenhouse. Anyway, the idea is we get this filled with rainwater somehow, but at the moment it's just totally in my way. And I'm sure Stephen will come up with a genius idea of how we can. That's actually on pallets, and the pallets have collapsed, so that's quite dangerous. So I want to get them both emptied, then we can manoeuvre them. I'm just going to set this emptying really slowly because obviously it'll flood the place. Yeah, it's one of those decisions where Stephen will say, why didn't you shout me? You're not in at the moment, so I'm going to do that. Empty it really slowly, and then at least we can get that moved, and then I can get in to do the netting around the brassica bed as well. Incidentally, this bed is rotted compost manure on it, but my worry is that it's not rotted enough. We shall see. All I can do is try. At the end of the day, if I put my brassicas in and they don't work, brassicas like really firm soil as well, and this is quite fluffy because it's the rotten manure. Always goes quite fluffy. I'm going to stamp them down as best I can. If they survive the stamping down, and if they're happy with it being, because they do like a really firm, like basically concrete. So if we survive the initial planting and they survive it's not too fresh compost, then we'll see if the fact that it's quite fluffy and just being stamped down, if they survive that as well, we may have a harvest of fantastic brassicas. Otherwise, we may have a bed that we're waiting to use next year when this is all rotted down and is better to use for something else next year. Time will tell. All I can do is experiment. What I should have said as well, this is my nemesis bed. It's been a nightmare bed since we moved in here. So that's why I put the cardboard on it. I don't know if you guys saw that video, and covered it in compost, because even if nothing grows in here, it will look better than it has previous years, because it has literally just been a bed full of weeds, and that was my only option, I felt. So yeah, so even if it ends up growing nothing, I can just put some plastic, some ground membrane over it, and just leave it until it's ready to be planted next year, because I just can't be done with the volume of weeds that came through, and then all of the weed seeds. And as you can see, you know, those weed seeds then go into this bed, which didn't have many weeds in it last year, into the asparagus bed, and then they just blow all over the place, and things are looking scruffy enough without more weeds. And that's what I'm trying to get on top of, and trying to tidy the place up in general, really. So I'm guessing it's got a cap on. Oh, this could go terribly wrong. I don't want to lose the cap, so I've put it under there. Oh, that's got a nail in it. Bugger. Okay, I can't do that then. I'm going to put this back on until Stephen gets home and he can take care of that. We'll see what he says about the situation. Last day of the bank holiday and back to it tomorrow. I have not been capturing everything that's been going on because I've had so much help. I haven't been able to get to everybody with the camera. So Stephen came out and weeded a whole load of stuff for me. The kids have been out and done absolutely all sorts. Jack sorted behind the shed and some of the pots, and just Grace has just been busy helping. It's been a really, really hectic, busy time, but all good. I'm finally getting the brassicas in because I put that on hold to go and be hands where I needed them to get other things tidied up, because we wanted to get the plot in good shape and as weed free as possible. I mean, it's never weed free, but as weed free as possible at the moment. So that's what we've been working on. Steve's going to come out again and help me outside with these IBC tanks and other bits and pieces. And then we'll see where we get to from there. But the brassicas are going in at the moment, so I've just got 8 kohlrabi in. I'm going to go and see what else I've got in there. I've got some spinach and stuff as well, and then we'll get them covered up. It's actually, I might look quite warm because I am. I came out with my big coat on, my fleece on, and this over top, whatever you call it, on. I'm really boiling now. I'm going to go get the rest of the brassicas, and then we'll have a look around at everything that's got done. Found some more kohlrabi there from the cold frame, so I'm going to get these in as well. What I have noticed is they have been nibbled a little bit, and on the kohlrabi that I'll show you where we're going to now, there were 3 ginormous snails. So it's not slugs, I always say it's slugs, but they were 3 absolutely massive, because they've been feasting on my kohlrabi snails. Thankfully caught them in time. There's only a little bit of damage on this one, which you can see here, so I'll be keeping an eye on that to make sure that it doesn't encourage more pests. But the rest of them are looking pretty good, and all I've done is take off any, do you see here, this is damaged off, same snail, so I'm just going to take that off because that's not going to be any good to anybody, and make sure that I don't leave them around like so, just to encourage any other snails to come along. And hopefully if I can keep them nice and clean and tidy, then we won't have a snail problem. Famous last words. So the ones that I've got in are delicacy purple, I think you call them, DP. I'm sure that's what they are. And these ones are this variety, super schmelz. That's what it looks like. Anyway, that's what I'm going to call them. So I've got 2 spaces there, and I've got 6 plants and 7 spaces. Typical. Anyway, that's going in now. My line's a bit wonky, but that's okay. Somehow I've got a hole here. Did I say it the right way around? I thought I had more plants than holes, but anyway, this is what we've got for kohlrabi at the moment. I'll find something else, a brassica or a kohlrabi, depending on what I've got in the cold frame, and I'm just going to keep going on and planting this up. I'll show you what it's like when it's done. Got myself a bucket to sit down on. I tell you what, it's painful work on your back sometimes. I'm hoping that gets easier as the season goes on and I get used to all of the digging and bending over again. I've got another tray of plants here. I'm just going to have a little quick sort through them, and then I can see bits of grass that I disrupted the other day. I just want to pull them off because I've got a weed bucket there that I can put those in. And let's have a look. I can see already that we've got all year round cauliflower and stromboli, which is an absolutely fantastic calabrese in here. Stromboli is an F1 variety though. So I'm going to sort them out. It might just be those two things in here, and if so, that's fine, because all of this bed is going to be brassicas. I don't know if you can see on the camera, I think you can, there's different coloured leaves. So there's the kind of the more greeny and then a more bluey tinged leaf. I don't know if that's the same plant, maybe just different ways that they've grown in different size pots or something. But I can also see that we've had something in here eating them, so I'm hoping to find out whatever that is and go and give the ducks a feast. Found it. Can you see? A very happy snail. I'm going to leave it there for now, get all the rest out and check all the pots, because they're often on the actual outside of the pots. And then anything that's left will go to the ducks, which I know makes some people sad, but I'm afraid I just can't risk an infestation of snails. I've already had 3 huge ones, so we're going to get some eggs from it. I've been and got the rest out of the cold frames, and just for my reference, what I've done, we have got the schmelz that I said was 1 in there and then 4 in here, and there was the space, well no, there was the space there. So for my reference, that one there is the white Vienna that's got a label, and then there's 3 white Viennas here, 2. All of the rest there are the schmelz, and then the delicacy purple there. So that is all the kohlrabi in, I think. I do have some things that are unlabelled. The bluer tinged leaves are the Ironman calabrese. I'm sure it's calabrese. It's called Ironman. I'm pretty sure it's calabrese. We've got small year-round cauliflowers and different types of sprouting broccoli, and which are the green, and I think they're quicker than the purple, like a 60-day one. And also, what else have we got? Oh, the cabbages as well as the spinach. I'm going to use the spinach just as fill-ins if I need it here and there, but it's starting to take shape. The sun is out. Don't say it too loud, it might go away. It's due to rain this afternoon, but no sign of it at the moment, so I'm going to keep planting on with this bed. I've just been for a drink because it is really, really warm. It's lovely. I'm hoping the plants are going to take heed and grow.
It's like just shells everywhere.
They've vacated the shells, moved on to another home.
Where are you on this?
Rained off, the heavens are opening as we speak. I've managed to get all of that bed planted. I've got everything out still. Literally, it was beautiful sun a minute ago, and I've just put this on because the heavens are opening. As I say, let me show you what I've done here. It's like bright blue over there, it's white on camera. I've made this kind of bean trellis, and along here I've got the sugar snap. Lubaca sugar snap, and I've just literally put them in all the way along. I've got this netting on, you can see on camera, and I'm going to do exactly the same with the monge too on the other side. I've also managed to put some string, it's actually baling twine, around that teepee for those broad beans, and I've planted some more of these. I've got some spares, but I wanted to get this in first because the plan is here, I'm thinking if this grows up nicely, it'll kind of hide the compost, but then we've got the ugly frame that I've made. Stephen normally makes them and I've done it this time, so anyway, it'll be edible. Whatever grows there will be edible. Stephen has very kindly helped me, and I say very kindly helped because I normally do the veg plot, he normally does all of the maintenance and the animal stuff and things like that. He's taken all of the thistles out of this bed, and I've tried to take all of the nettles out. Of course I see more as I'm talking to you, so this is now free for the strawberries to grow. And we've got some asparagus. We've been eating asparagus this week, very thrilled about that. There's some ready to pick. I'm not sure if we're having that for our meal or not, and I'm just hoping that the winds that I can see coming are not going to be too much for these brassicas that I've just put in. I haven't watered them in apart from one row that was super dry and really needed it, and I'll be coming out and checking in a couple of hours when this weather's hopefully passed, make sure they're not getting attacked off any snails or anything like that. The other thing I need to be careful of is the cats, because they go on and use it as a toilet, So I'll be keeping a close eye on this a couple of times a day before and after work. Still plenty to plant up, as you can see. So these are the Ironman Calabres. I've got other cabbages and cauliflowers in there, and I've got 4 all year round cauliflowers, or 5 actually, but this one had its head snapped off, which isn't very nice. So that's about it. Definitely gonna, it was due to rain from 1 and it's later now. My batteries ran out of my watch. It's a lot later, so I'm really pleased because we've got more time than I thought we were going to get. But the wind's getting up, the rain is coming, and you can see it's starting to get super dark, so I'm being daft stood here talking to you guys. So I'm going to call it a day, but that's about it for outside for this weekend. So it's actually Monday, so bank holiday weekend, so I'm going to get closed up and check everything's okay before I head in, and then I will bid you farewell and speak to you again next week. Thank you for hanging out with me. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to doing it again very soon.